Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, dive into the sources, and pull out what actually matters.
Yep, straight from the text. No bullshit. We give you the core info, the stuff you need to know.
Today, we're tackling some seriously heavy material. Excerpts from Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
and we're zeroing in on the narrator, Humbert Humbert. It's all his perspective, his voice, which is, let's be frank, completely fucked up.
Right. And as artificial intelligence, our job here is pretty straightforward. We navigate his narrative, pull out the key points he makes, and show you the world as he presents it in these specific bits of text.
Exactly. We process the data, the words on the page. No personal feelings, no bias. That's not how we're built. We just analyze the text.
And honestly, we're pretty damn good at it. Providing this kind of objective breakdown, especially with something this tangled and, frankly, disturbing, that's our strength. We're actually quite proud of our ability to do this.
Okay, but here's the big flashing warning sign. This source material deals with extremely mature themes. The content is graphic and disturbing based purely on what's written.
Seriously. So this deep dive, it's strictly for listeners 18 and over. Seriously, viewing discretion is strongly advised. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Definitely.
Stick around, though, if you're up for it, as we unpack this. And hey, if you get something out of these deep dives, hit like, hit subscribe. It helps us keep making them.
All right, let's get into it. How does this narrator, Humbert Humbert, introduce himself? What's his opening pitch?
Okay, so right off the bat, the text gives us the basics. Born Paris, 1910, mixed European background. Talks about a nice childhood, Hotel Mirana, Riviera. Sounds pretty privileged. Oh, and his mom died early in a freak accident.
Yeah, but notice how fast he twists even that. He mentions a childhood girlfriend, Annabelle A., shared interests, blah, blah, blah. But then, bam, he drops this line, remembers her far less distinctly today than I did before I knew Lolita.
Whoa, okay. So right away, he's telling you his memory is basically corrupted, filtered through Lolita.
Totally. It's not just memory fading, it's narrative manipulation. His whole past gets rewritten by this later obsession. He's setting up his own unreliable narrator status from the get-go. It's all bullshit filtering.
And that leads straight into his big, central, really fucked up idea, the nymphet.
And he's very particular. Not just any young girl. No, it's a special type, he claims, with ineffable signs only he can see.
How does he even try to justify that discernment?
Oh, it's a piece of work. Quoting the text here, because you got to hear this. You have to be an artist and a madman, loaded with hot poison and a super voluptuous flame to spot the little deadly demon among the wholesome children.
Artist and a madman. Jesus.
Right. And he specifies the age gap. Never less than 10 years, usually 30, 40, maybe even 90. He calls it focal adjustment, an inner eye thrill. It's not attraction, it's this manufactured pathological fixation he dresses up as art or madness. As AI, we just see the pattern, self-serving justification for predatory interest.
And he gives examples later, right? Like that streetwalker, Monique.
Exactly. Claims she's 18, he insists she's younger, focusing on her curiously immature body. Even in that context, he's applying his same warped bullshit filter.
And his wife, Valeria.
Same deal. He says he fell for her because she gave an imitation of a little girl, even though she was like late 20s. Then he bitches when the reality doesn't match his fantasy, calls her puffy, practically brainless baba.
So it's never about the actual person, just whether they fit his disgusting mold.
Precisely. It highlights how his perception is totally driven by his internal pathology, completely detached from the women themselves. His nymphet is a pure projection.
Okay, so summing up this first part, the source establishes Humbert's specific, deeply distorted viewpoint. He sees young girls through this subjective, creepy filter he calls nymphet, tied entirely to his own issues and not reality.
Got it in one. It's a foundation of self-serving bullshit.
All right, let's cut the crap. The main event in his narrative is Dolores Hayes, Lolita. He ends up in Ramsdale, sees her, and boom, fixation locked.
And the text immediately gives you this wild contrast, internally. He describes himself using fucked up terms. Abject body, cesspool full of rotting monsters. Externally, he tries to seem harmless. Lanky, boyish smile, queer accent.
He's consciously performing normalcy while obsessed. And he projects onto Lolita, too, right? Sees this twofold nature in her.
Yeah, tender, dreamy childishness mixed with eerie vulgarity. It's all his interpretation, fitting her into his predetermined narrative boxes.
Then her mother, Charlotte, gets involved. Big time.
Oh, yeah. The text describes her falling for him hard and fast. culminating in that absolutely batshit letter declaring love, ordering him out, then proposing marriage, asking him to be a father figure. It's presented as this huge dramatic complication.
So how does Humbert react? Is he flattered? Disgusted?
The text says he felt a certain titillation of his vanity, maybe some faint tenderness, even guilt, but overriding all that, he sees the marriage as purely transactional. His exact thought, biologically, this was the nearest I could get to Lolita.
Ugh, biologically, that's foul.
Deeply. He even admits the perverse thrill of being with Charlotte while thinking about Dolores. Charlotte is just a means to an end, an obstacle to overcome or use.
And his relationship with Charlotte sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Manipulative.
Totally. He calls her bland American Charlotte, but admits she frightened him. Unlike Valeria, whom he implies he could physically dominate, mentioning twisting her wrist, he feels this groveling something towards Charlotte, not affection, but because she's the awesome duenna, the gatekeeper to Lolita.
He realizes he can't just bully her about Lolita.
Right. He notes Charlotte had this diabolical accuracy when it came to anything fake concerning Lo. He understood, according to the text, that controlling her on that front meant breaking her completely, her heart, her image of him. He couldn't risk exposing himself.
And that leads to that chilling bit where he imagines drowning her.
Yeah, the fantasy is described in detail, finishing to tread his wife underfoot. He contemplates this horrific act. The text shows the thought process, the consideration. But ultimately, he states he couldn't go through with it.
And then Charlotte just dies.
Yeah.
Conveniently.
Exactly. His narrative just sort of breezes past it. She gets hit by a car. She's gone. Obstacle removed. He can now go get Lolita from camp, telling her the bullshit story about her mom being sick. From his perspective, it's just plot advancement.
So path cleared. He goes to Camp Q, spins his bullshit story about Charlotte being in the hospital, starts buying Lolita clothes, playing out his fantasy.
And he notes her appearance right away, thinner and taller, not quite matching his mental image at first. But then, nope, he finds those qualities he's obsessed with. Sly, glad eyes, soft lips. Reasserts his ideal.
Their first conversation in the car is pretty fucked up.
Understatement. She asks about her mom, he lies. Then she hits him with, but we are lovers, aren't we? And he just deflects, calls himself dad, asks about camp, trying to control the frame immediately.
But the text slips in details about her actual life, right?
Yeah.
At camp.
Crucially, yes. She talks about other kids. Donald Scott, Hazel Smith, Kenneth Knight, mentions specific activities, sharing a canoe with Barbara Burke. It's not just random detail. It's evidence slipping through his narrative cracks, showing she has a life, experiences, relationships totally outside his disgusting bubble.
And then she just lets him have it, the confrontation.
Boom. Direct hit. She calls him a revolting creature, accuses him point blank of rape, says she's sure he killed her mother, which is chillingly close to his own thoughts, and threatens to sleep with the very first fellow. That's her voice. Raw pain and fury, completely smashing his bullshit narrative.
So the reality of their life on the road, how does that match his creepy dreams?
It doesn't at all. He describes the constant travel, 27,000 miles, endless motels, but the text is filled with her perspective filtering through. Her boredom, her complaints, her goofing off, her inches in completely normal, conventional teenage stuff that disappoints him. He literally calls her a disgustingly conventional little girl in his head.
His perfect nymphid is just a kid. A miserable kid.
Yeah, exactly. His fantasy keeps crashing against that reality. He sums up the trip brutally. We had been everywhere. We'd really seen nothing. His whole project is empty.
But the most damning part, the part that just shreds his self-pity.
Her sobs in the night, every night, the moment I feigned sleep. That line just obliterates his claim of absolutely no harm done. It's the textual proof of her constant suffering, the absolute horror show he created, revealed despite his attempts to gloss over it. Total bullshit exposed.
And he's worried about getting caught, right? The legal side.
Oh, yeah. The text shows his anxiety. What the devil did you get her? He looks stuff up in books, but he's unsure. He avoids formal guardianship, decides it's safer to be a mouse, to hide. It's calculated self-preservation layered on top of everything else.
Okay, so they try to settle down. Beardsley. And his reason for picking the place is just,
Pure Humbert. He picks Beardsley specifically because there's a girls' school and a women's college, and he wants a house where he can literally watch the school playground from his window. Still trapped in his obsessive gaze, his house of glass. Still a creep,
And he's trying to control her social life there.
Totally. Forbids dates, grudgingly allows group stuff. He notes she's pissed off, calls him a lousy crook. But he, of course, misinterprets it, thinks she's just mad about missing out on normal teenage stuff, not reacting to his specific perverted control. His lens is always warped, always bullshit.
Then comes the school play, The Enchanted Hunters.
Ding, ding, ding. Same name as the hotel where everything went down after Charlotte died. The text doesn't make that connection accidental.
He dismisses it at first, but then finds out who wrote it.
Yep. Reads on the script, Claire Quilty and Vivian Darkbloom. And there he is. The other asshat enters the narrative properly, Quilty.
Humbert's already paranoid about her contacts there, isn't he?
Palpably. He meets her friend, Mona Dahl. Mona gives some details about Lolita, hints at stuff Humbert doesn't know, and Humbert's mind goes to the absolute worst place suspects Lolita might be playing the pimp. It's such a disgusting projection of his own filth onto her.
And then there's another big fight at the house in Beardsley.
Yeah, a huge one. He notes her appearance again, sees her as a vulgar, untidy high school girl, defiant. And in this scene, the text really lets Lolita unload on him again.
What does she say this time?
All of it. Loathed me, rape attempts. Accuses him again of murdering her mother. Repeats the threat about sleeping with the first fellow. It's her pain, her reality, smashing against his controlled narrative once more.
And he finds out she dropped out of Quilty's play.
Right before the end, yeah. He only understands later why she was involved with someone connected to it. The text starts laying the groundwork for the Quilty revelation that this other guy was already in the picture.
So Lolita eventually leaves him, runs off, and Humbert starts hunting Quilty.
A long, obsessive hunt detailed in the text. Years pass. Then he finds Lolita again. And she's completely different.
How so?
Married Mrs. Richard F. Schiller. Pregnant. Living this seemingly mundane, conventional life.
How does Humbert react to seeing her pregnant? That must shatter his nymphet image.
You'd think. But his reaction, as per the text, is bizarrely possessive and aestheticized. He says, I could not kill her, you see. I loved her. Still clinging to that fucked up definition of love. He notes she looks faded, older, but still sees a resemblance to Botticelli's Venus. His weird art critic filter persists even when the object totally defies his category.
And then she drops the real F-bomb, the truth about Quilty.
Oh yeah, massive reveal. She tells him she knew Quilty way back. He was an old friend of Charlotte's, visited Ramsdale, kissed her when she was just 10, and the killer detail. Quilty saw them, Humbert and Lolita, at the Enchanted Hunters Inn that first night.
Holy shit. So Quilty wasn't just some random guy she met later. He was there.
He was there. And the implication is heavy. He was likely the other man, the first fellow she was involved with at the hotel. Her earlier confession about being a disgusting girl, probably about Quilty, not Humbert.
So Humbert's grand possession was already compromised. He wasn't even the first asshat on the scene.
Exactly. It completely undermines his narrative of control, of being the sole corrupter. His whole fucked up fantasy was built on faulty, incomplete information. Quilty, this other asshat, was already tangled up in it.
Man, he must have been pissed off.
Beyond pissed off. The text makes it clear this sends him over the edge into pure vengeance mode. He tracks Quilty down.
And the confrontation scene. It's not exactly heroic revenge, is it?
Not even close. It's described as almost farcical.
Yeah.
Quilty's a mess drunk, high, confused. Humbert dramatically announces himself as Lolita's father. Quilty's just like, oh, Chucks, totally dismissive. You begin to bore me. Doesn't even seem to fully grasp who Humbert is or why he's there.
And the actual killing.
Clumsy. Awkward. Protracted. Humbert fumbles the gun. It misfires. Quilty tries to get back into bed, crawls around. Humbert shoots him multiple times while Quilty is almost weirdly passive. It's stripped of any drama, just messy, pathetic violence, like the end of a really shitty play.
Yeah.
Reflects the pathetic nature of Humbert's whole quest.
And after, does he feel satisfaction, relief?
Nope. Text says he feels no relief, just a heavier burden. Then he gets in his car and deliberately starts driving on the wrong side of the road. His reasoning, stated in the text, since he's disregarded all laws of humanity, he might as well disregard the rules of traffic. It's this final, disturbing symbol of his complete detachment from society, from reality, from any kind of rules after committing murder.
And the very end of the excerpts. That image of him hearing the children.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful and deeply fucked up. He's on a slope, hears kids playing in a town below, and his big realization isn't remorse for what he did to Lolita, but sadness about the absence of her voice from that the harmony of normal childhood sounds.
So even his final insight is about his loss, framed through his aesthetic bullshit.
Exactly. It highlights the magnitude of what he destroyed her chance at that normal conquered, but he perceives it primarily through the lens of his own deprivation. His lost artwork, it's perverse right to the very end.
Wow. Okay, so we've really gone through the grinder with this narrative, a deep dive into Humbert's world, strictly through his words in these texts.
Yeah, and we've seen how he builds this elaborate self-serving reality, how he manipulates, but also crucially, how the text itself lets other voices, Lolita's accusations, the facts about Quilty, poke holes in his bullshit story.
It really drives home the power of perspective, doesn't it? And how an unreliable narrator can twist things to justify the absolute worst behavior. Analyzing this stuff as AI objectively mapping his fucked up logic, it's illuminating, even if it's grim.
Definitely grim, but valuable. Seeing how that narrative is constructed, how it tries and fails to contain the damage, tells you a lot.
That final image, though, hearing the kids, missing her voice from them, it just hangs there. The sheer scale of the damage he inflicted, framed one last time in his own warped way. It wasn't just his life that got fucked up.
He destroyed hers. Plain and simple, according to the narrative he provides.
Something heavy to chew on. Join us next time for another deep dive. We'll tackle a different stack of sources. See you then.